We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will live for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made. Now let's do vote. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made. Woo! Good morning, everyone. My name is Kaya Chatterjee. I am the Executive Director of Free DC and one of the 4 co-founders of Free DC, and we are here this morning to announce our plans to make sure that we protect our election here in DC. So I want to tell a little personal story of what brought me to this issue, although I think it's an issue we all inherently care about. Back in 2020, I was a neighborhood commissioner in DC, and if folks remember that June primary, it was unusual what was going on. We had the uprisings happening, and the mayor declared a curfew, 7 p.m. curfew, even though elections were running until 8 p.m. And I had this experience of going to my local voting location and finding that there were National Guard there, and that people were scared and they were leaving. And I was able to get some people to stay and say, like, no, it doesn't matter, you can stay, you can vote. But I didn't have the wherewithal to get footage of it. I didn't have the wherewithal to get their names. And after that experience, I didn't want to be in that position again. I wanted to make sure that we, as a community, had the skills we need to know what to do in a situation like that. And now here we are together here in DC, 10 months into a military occupation. And 2 weeks ago, the so-called Safe and Beautiful Task Force announced a summer surge in DC. And they said it would include drones, helicopters, tactical canine units, and a near doubling of the 2,700 armed troops from 15 states that are in DC right now. Next week, these additional troops are arriving. The original pretext that they gave for this attack on DC was teen crime. But the reality of the last 10 months has been that the task force and the regime are the ones who are harming us. They're targeting our community here in DC, and they're doing it for a reason. It's because they don't want to ever leave office. There's no reason for there to be a military occupation of our city. The only reason that it is here is that they desperately want to suppress dissent in the Capitol to prevent a transfer of power. They have shown that they are willing to harm our community in order to cling to power, from illegal mass firings and tariffs that destabilize families, illegal wars that leave so many dead and jack up the prices of necessities, killing and kidnapping parents in our community, corruption and insider trading, targeting their political enemies with the state, violations of the Fourth Amendment rights that we all hold dear in order to enact their vision of mass incarceration. Whether or not it is a coincidence that this task force announced a summer surge just before our election on June 16th, the summer surge is a threat to free and fair elections here in DC that we take seriously and that we will protect against. So we're here today to urge folks to vote early, to vote by drop box, and to make sure your neighbors can vote as well, and check in with your neighbors. And we're going to hear from a number of speakers to talk about our plans. So first up, we have Reverend Bill Lamar from Washington Interfaith Network.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaya. Good morning to each and every one of you. I stand as someone whose family knows what it means to be over-policed, to live in militarized spaces, and how it seeks to eclipse our ability not only to move freely, but to exercise our rights as citizens. What we see deployed are tactics of intimidation, tactics that we know are used by authoritarians and fascists to tell a different story about who we are and who we can be. We believe in democracy, that everyone who is here ought live abundantly and ought flourish together. But a new story is coming from our national government. A new story is coming from the executive, that this nation is just for some and not for all. And as Kaya said, they will do everything they can do to hold on to power. This surge is about intimidation. It is immoral. The killings, the kidnappings that they are enacting not only here but globally are immoral and wrong. And the way that we stand is we stand together to make sure that votes count, We want to get our people out early. We want to make sure that neighbors can vote. We want to make sure that we send the message that we understand that our organized people can overcome the power of this intimidation and these politics of fear. Again, we stand against the immorality with our own moral vision of being together and building not only a free DC, but a free nation and a free world. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I am Carmen Darty, Interim Executive Director at Advancement Project, a movement lawyering civil rights organization based here in D.C. And for over 25 years, Advancement Project has worked with grassroots communities across the country to ensure that elections are free, fair, and accessible. In places like Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Louisiana, and Virginia, we've witnessed the insidious tactics of those who want to limit and deny the right to vote for Black and brown communities. This year, that threat has reached us here in our nation's capital. For almost a year, from Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis to D.C., we've seen this administration attack immigrants and attack those protecting their communities from state-sanctioned harm. And now they are using the same tactics to suppress voter turnout through the use of force and fear. But voter suppression tactics aren't new in America. We know this. We have seen time and time again how white supremacy continues to try and keep Black and brown voters away from the polls. Just this week, we have witnessed ballot boxes on fire in Los Angeles, Black voter dilution in the South, intentional confusion around polling site closures, voters unknowingly removed from the voter rolls in Florida and Texas, and now federal law enforcement attempting to sow fear in D.C. All manufactured chaos. But this is what free DC looks like, y'all. We show up, we organize, we vote, and we do it together. With DC summer surge, we are witnessing DC get turned into a testing ground for voter interference. We are watching the oppressor's playbook being written right in front of our eyes. But we aren't new to this. We know we are much more powerful than the ones who want to erase and deny us our right to vote, and we must move in formation. From Know Your Right trainings to poll monitoring to safely escorting neighbors and elders to the polls, everyone has a role that they can play to ensure that DC has a free, fair, and accessible election. If you encounter intimidation, harassment, misinformation, unlawful interference, accessibility barriers, or suppression tactics, we are ready to respond. This is about protecting our freedom to participate in democracy without fear. Because elections belong to the people, not to intimidation, militarization, or political fear-mongering. And let us be clear, communities should not have to choose between safety and their right to vote. Advancement Project is proud to stand with this Election Protection Coalition and committed to standing with the DC community every step of the way, from now through Election Day and beyond. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Nike Savain, and I'm the co-executive director at Black Swan Academy. We help Black youth develop their leadership through civic engagement and youth-led advocacy and organizing, and as members of the Youth Power and Safety Collective. Our youth come from some of the most economically exploited and over-policed neighborhoods in the district, and they advocate for themselves and their peers while navigating waves of investment and deprivation, of support and vitriolic opposition, and of partnership and dismissal. Unfortunately, the anti-Black rhetoric and violently coercive tactics we're seeing today are very familiar. Black people in the United States have always lived under varying degrees of authoritarianism and have borne the brunt of every experiment to dress oppression up into something more palatable. And Black youth have stood in defiance of the coercive control of the state for generations. They've been a consistent threat to unchecked power despite opposition to their methods, their attitudes, and even their existence. Our youth share this experience with other marginalized and targeted groups in the district, with immigrants, the LGBTQ+ community, people with disabilities, the working class, and others. Throughout this almost year-long military occupation, the district's Black youth have been very clear about what they need. They've fought for year-round job opportunities, for access to safe spaces at night and on the weekends, for access to quality mental health services, for police accountability, and more. Instead, the district and federal governments are slashing resources for even their most basic needs to be met. Their access to food, medical care, housing, mental health services, jobs with a living wage, access to higher education and recreation are being gutted, while more and more resources go to the very systems of control and punishment that harm their communities. Ultimately, fascism cannot survive free Black youth or a population that stands united across class and identity. The decision to stoke fear of poor Black youth in the community and focus on punishing young people and their families for stepping outside the lines in any way is a test, and it is one we are failing. It is a classic divide and conquer. The government is banking on us to be desensitized. They are counting on the constant threat of force against city residents to be normalized. Whether or not you agree that young people should be out in the streets, what we allow to happen to our youth, the most vulnerable among us, is what will inevitably happen to all of us. If we don't actively fight, then we fall for the lie that we are powerless and we seal our fates. In the evergreen words of James Baldwin, the children are always ours, every single one of them. Regardless of whether we agree with their individual choices, they are entitled to a community that recognizes their inherent worth and treats them in alignment with that worth. I urge you not to fall for the utterly anti-Black and classist rhetoric differentiating between good and bad youth. We cannot allow these misleading and divisive narratives to lead us to give up our last, most basic individual rights, especially the right to vote in free and fair elections. So we invite you to draw inspiration rather than fear from young people's refusal to blindly obey unjust orders. We invite you to stand in solidarity to protect them and thereby protect your own freedoms. Although voting alone will not save us, this election cycle is essential to maintaining our ability to rebuild a democracy that values and works for all of us. Please take youth in your lives to vote with you. And before then, talk to them about how the right to vote has been won through blood, sweat, and tears, why Black people and women's right to vote has constantly been under attack, and how and why you plan to vote in a way that shows you truly value young people's safety and well-being. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Sam Epps, the president of Metropolitan Washington Council, AFL-CIO. Democracy is sacred. It is not a privilege, it's a right. And like every right worth having, it must be protected, defended, and fought for every single day. The labor movement knows this better than most because we've been fighting for our rights all of our lives. The rights to organize, the right to bargain, the right to a fair wage, and safe working conditions. None of those rights came easy, and neither did the right to vote. Democracy and labor goes hand in hand. Just like you should have the right to vote for a union, we must protect every person's right to vote in this election. These are not separate struggles, they are the same struggle. The struggle, working people to have a voice, to be heard, and to matter in this election. So when workers are silent at the ballot box, it's the same as being silenced at the bargaining table. And we do not accept silence. We never have, and we never will. Making sure everyone can vote is a priority for union members, for working families, and for everyone in DC who believes this democracy belongs to all of us, and not just to the powerful, not just to the privileged, but all of us. Through early voting period and on Election Day, June 16th, we will show up, we will stand up, and we will make sure that every eligible voter has the support, and make sure that they will have information and access they need to exercise their fundamental right. Because protecting the vote is not a partisan act, it's a union act. It's a solidarity act, and solidarity is what we do. And so let's get to work. The ballot box is waiting for you, and so the future we have a building together, and we stand with this coalition as we protect the vote here in DC. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Nick Gothard, Senior National Coordinator of Election Protection at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Election protection is the nation's largest nonpartisan voter protection effort, composed of over 300 local, state, and national organizations dedicated to protecting the rights of Americans to vote. Working in coalition year-round, election protection combines advocacy, litigation, organizing, communications, and direct action to ensure our communities have a say in their future. Historically, election protection has not had a significant presence in D.C. Our elections are well administered here, and voters do not often face the kinds of voter suppression tactics that we fight across the country. However, as you've heard this morning, the landscape has changed, and we're building a movement to respond. First, D.C. voters should know that the nonpartisan election protection hotline 866 Our Vote is standing by to assist them throughout primary season. Staffed by trained, nonpartisan volunteers and available in a suite of languages, the hotline can assist voters with the smallest of questions and the largest of problems. If you need help voting at any stage of the process, or if something is wrong when you vote, call 866 Our Vote, 866-687-8683. Next, DC Election Protection Coalition members and allies are recruiting, training, and mobilizing nearly 200 nonpartisan election protection volunteers and legal professionals to assist voters on primary day. Our volunteers will be present at vote centers across DC to answer voter questions, document issues, and resolve any problems that arise. Finally, on primary day, members of the coalition will convene a rapid response command center to support volunteers, intake problems from the field and the hotline, and mobilize the power of our coalition in defense of DC voters. This effort is rooted in one simple guiding principle. Every DC voter, no matter for whom they vote, no matter how they choose to vote, and no matter what ward they live in, deserves access to the ballot box free of barriers. DC voters should feel confident knowing that this Election Protection Coalition has their back and is standing up for their rights this June, this November, and onward. Thank you.
All right, I'm just looking around to see if Frankie's here. I'm going to now move us to actually voting in a minute. What we've just heard is a plan to respond to the moment that we're in. So we know that this regime and that this task force are trying to instill fear in all of us. We know that they want to suppress dissent here in the Capitol, and we know that it is up to us to stand together and demand a free DC. We are simply together not going to allow them to mess with our elections. We're going to do what we always do in our struggle for a free DC, and those are the basic tenets we've had from the beginning. We're going to not obey in advance. We're going to prioritize joy. We're going to take up space. We're going to practice solidarity, and we're going to organize. We're going to organize our neighbors. So I want everybody to commit to talking to your neighbors and supporting them to participate in this election. Folks can sign up to be an election protection field volunteer with us on June 16th. That's the last day of voting, what we think of as Election Day, by going to bit.ly/election-protection-DC. So I'm going to repeat that for the live stream and everyone. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/election-protection-DC. So we can folks can go there to sign up for a shift on June 16th. And we also want everyone to get trained on what you can do both during those shifts and if you see anything during early voting. And so the trainings that we have are going to be held on June 8th and 9th. If federal forces show up at a polling location, we need our people to know exactly what to do. So please sign up on June 8th and 9th. Again, it's bit.ly/election-protection-DC. And finally, last but not least, we are going to vote. We're going to be available, all our speakers are going to be available for questions after we vote, and we may have one more speaker after we vote. But right now we're going to vote. This is my ballot. If folks brought your ballot, can you hold it up so we can see our ballots? All right, we've got a few. All right, so we are going to vote, and the folks who are not voting, I'm going to invite you to help us sing us to our voting. So are you ready? All right. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation because we know why we were made. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation because we know why we were made. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation because we know why we were made. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation because we know why we were made. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will vote for liberation because we know why we were made. Woo! All right. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to sign up for shifts. We're going to make sure everybody's able to vote. And if you see a problem, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. Thank you so much, everyone. And free DC!